Good evening. Well, the Who's today were on at Canterbury. The track was a heavy 10, and the rail was 3 metres out. There was a bit of a breeze, southeasterly blowing, which didn't have any effect. And of course, well, the meeting went ahead because Canterbury is such a good draining track. Both sides of the track. You have a good draining system, and they're thinking that's there's always been mentioned, oh, we've got to sell Canterbury, we've got no money, we've got to sell Canterbury. Sell yourselves. What if you didn't have Canterbury when it gets in the winter, where meetings can be transferred to and so forth? We might have no racing in the metropolitan area for a few days or whatever. And that'd be a record, wouldn't it? But anyway, the meeting went ahead. Of course, yesterday there was a meeting at Warwick Farm, and well, of course, it was washed out. It was washed out. The meeting tomorrow that's set down for Hawkesbury, well, it was put off. It was put off today. It's being transferred to Gosford on Saturday. And the meeting down at Kembla, which was supposed to be on a Saturday, is apparently they're underwater down there. It's being transferred to Monday. So the Kembla meeting on Saturday is Monday. The Hawkesbury meeting tomorrow is going to be run at Gosford on Saturday. And going back to the Warwick Farm meeting, it is a joke, you know, like the filthy TAB. Tell everybody, you know, the TAB is the cancer of racing. If anyone happens to be looking after TAB, you are going to put your hand up, aren't you? You are going to put it up and say, yes, we know, we don't want to admit it, but we are the cancer of racing. We've caused racing to be in such a terrible state that it's in. And we've got control of it now, and we want to race every minute. Every minute we want the punters to bet. You should be pinned down and made bet yourselves, you team of bludgers. Anyway, of course they own the radio station in New South Wales that they own the radio station that broadcasts all their propaganda. Every time you get on this, they say, oh, the tab's telling everyone that they're betting the best odds. They bet the worst odds. Now, the only time you can possibly have a bet with the TAB is when the fixed odds go up these days. If you can find mistakes in where they put up their fixed odds. Now, how do you have a bet besides if you're playing? You can't have a win bet with them. You can't have a win bet besides that. You can play if you want to play the tries, I suppose, or doubles or so forth. You might find a little bit, but the pros have got those, and those tied more or less up. So for the average punter, he hasn't got 1,000,000 to 1 chance betting with the filthy joint. But anyway, they own, of course, the propaganda station. They've got the propaganda station, and I thought you might have a little bit of start, because I did a fair bit of work on Monday on the Warwick Farm meeting, knowing that it was raining. There's a good chance to be off. I got up at 4:30 on Tuesday morning doing the form for Warwick Farm. It hadn't rained much during the night. So I like an absolute, I must be a fan mug myself. I rang 2KY early around about 6 o'clock, or no, it was around about 6:30. I said, look, any chance if you find out before, and I had a little bit of start trying to finding out whether they were off or on. A couple of blokes who I know people at Warwick Farm. If you happen to find out, the stewards might let 2KY know before they let anybody else know. So, you know, there are people, they wouldn't know 2KY. You had people with horses starting that day at Warwick Farm coming from Cessnock and Taree and Wyong and Scone and Nowra and Kembla, not that Kembla's that far away, and Newcastle, Canberra, and down at Shoalhaven, all over the place. What do you think you do? The races are at 12:30. You think you leave at 11:30? So anyway, I did ring them up. I said, if you happen to find out, the stewards get in touch. Can you let us know on the radio? Yeah, oh yes, that'll be fine. So anyway, of course, I'm sitting there, and my son-in-law, he rang me as soon as it went on the website on the Racing New South Wales, which was around about just before 7. It went on the website of Racing New South Wales. They're off. So we knew, and that I knew they were off. So I had the radio on. Why I had it on? You wouldn't turn 2KY if they didn't have racing. If they didn't have racing on the, it's the only way. If you're at home or you're in a car driving along, the only reason if you want to listen, you turn them on is if you want to listen to a race. That rubbish that they turn on in the mornings, that big breakfast or whatever they call it. You couldn't possibly listen to the jerks talking on that. So of course 7. Well, it's now on the website. The people, as I say, who are coming from these country areas or whatever. I remember years ago when we used to be driving to meetings. You didn't, those days you had the ABC, you had the 2UE, 2GB, and 2KY. You had four preferences. Well, no, to listen to the radio. Well, now they've got the filthy TAB own the only station that broadcasts the races. So 7. Oh yes, it's on the website. No sign of no one says anything. So the 7:30 news comes along. There's no news about the meeting being off. So it's now about 8 minutes and 9 minutes to 8. That's there's good 40 minutes after it's on the website. People who, as I say, we knew, and other people have got the radio on. Don't they understand? But they're not racing people. See, these people in 2K. Well, they never have a bet. They wouldn't know what a bet was. They don't go to the races. They might go. They're all imposters. So anyway, so the next thing you know, at 10 to 8, for 3 seconds, someone must have handed the two jerks who were talking on there. They said, Warwick Farm. They wouldn't have even known Warwick Farm races were on. Warwick Farm races were off, and then started talking about cricket or some crap. Anyway, the next thing you know, the 8 o'clock news comes along. There's no mention of the races off. There's no mention of the races off on the news. And like an idiot, I did happen to ring. I must admit, why I did, I don't know. Rang them up and I said, you think, there are quite a few people. Someone rang me and said, oh, listen to the radio. They were travelling down. They said, if they're on? I said, no, they're off. They said, oh, we've had 2KY on and they haven't said anything. I said, oh, you missed it. They did say something at 10 to 8. But and the bloke said, oh, we don't, our news isn't our news. It comes from another radio station. We don't have any. Our news is already typed in for us. I said, they get 2KY. They get their news off Harry S. Baggs' station. Geez, didn't Harry S. Baggs in the more joyous episode? What a joke it was! Didn't he went in there? I suppose Harry S. Baggs. He went in there about a light middleweight at the best. But he come out of bantamweight, didn't he? He fair dinkum come out of bantamweight. Anyway, Harry, that we get the news off Harry S. Baggs' station, and but so maybe there are people. You got this one out, the radio. You think you can? They 9 o'clock when the big guts breakfast finishes or something, whatever it is. They say, oh well, mate, they're Warwick Farms. What a team of jerks. Anyway, now we got to Canterbury today. And well, as I said, the roll was 3 out. Now, the fence was by far the best. The last winner, of course, they went out very hard in the last race. They went out in about 30, 35 and a half, and they came home. They walked home in 38:42. That would have been. That was the slowest. Last 600 of the day, so that they went out a little bit hard in the last, and the 25 to 1 chance came down the outside. It wasn't a Skinner for the books. Really, that was the last, but it was an advantage. Not every winner was on the fence, but it was an advantage to save ground near the fence, and that was as I say, an advantage. In this first race today, the figures were ordinary all day. We're playing to the same usual suspects. 104.8 on the screen, but there was only 98% in the marketplace. The opening favourite, Benadir, well, it pulled up with a bad action and pulled up lame. The rider wasn't convinced with his action and it hung on him. It went from $2.30. Bookies gave as much as $3.50. But we're betting 98% by when all this, and only it started $3.20. If you gave the $3.50, of course, you were able to lay it. And I think it even took $3.20 at the finish. The winner of this race, it was a result for the captains. Adabel, it always was one off the fence, and when they turned for home, it sat in about 5th position in the field of 8, and it was always one off the fence. Got around a runner, got around Regal Scribe turning for home, which was near the fence, got in between runners and went away and won by 2 lengths. It was by far the best run. It led in the race. I Own the Lead, Long Shadow, trained by Gay, written by Timothy Clark, and it led and, as I say, got beat 2 lengths. So its effort, having the advantage of being up on the leading on the fence, wasn't very good, and neither was the favourable. It went disgraceful. It got beat 9.5 lengths, but it was more eased down towards the last bit of the race. A runner that sat wide in the race all the way and stuck on very well was the 3rd horse, Passion Cheval, who was back from $9 into $7 at one stage after opening up $6.50. Got beat 3.3 lengths, but as I say, never got close than 3 wide all the way, so its run was all right. The second race, well, the figures here were hopeless for the captains. 98.8 on the screen, 92% only in the marketplace. These were the flux. The Life, it went from $3.20 out to $4.60 back into $4.20. Failed Approach went from 13 out to 19. Habsburg, it went from $4 out to, you could lay it at one stage at $5, but it started 6, unlayable. Excuse me. Wishing went from $10 out to 12, back into $8.50. Blueprints, they took the $6, started $5.50, hard to get. Primus Invictus, 26 out to 31, back into 26. And the winner, Boss Lane. Now, you wouldn't see it. 440 was the top fluck. It flucked all right at 440, but you could have got as much as $5. Well, $5 in the outside ring and $4.80 on the fence and $4.60 on the fence. How it flucked only $4.40, I don't know. But of course, that's the flucked. And well, it went straight to the lead, Boss Lane, and it got a fairly easy time when it got there. It came across and sat on us outside the Life, but it had it off the bit before the turn, and it was quite evident to see that Boss Lane was, well, the judge even reached for his number on the turn. He said, I'll get number 8 out, and he had it slid in as soon as they crossed the line. He knew that even the judge knew it was going to win on the turn. It got through on the fence. It's that 3rd or 4th on the fence, getting a suck, never going around to run a Blueprints. But the winner, it only won by a mere 5 lengths, it won by 5 lengths. So it trotted in, run the race again. I would like to get the $5 that was available. Of course, it went around on the bias track at Gosford last start, where at Gosford that day, being on the fence was a lap start, and it got trapped 3 and 4 wide all the way in the run, and it didn't get beat as far as it should have, having a hard run on the bias track. It's easy now. Race 3, they said there was 99.7 on the screen, but about a good 5 less in the marketplace, about 94%. The other captains have got to teach me how you do this. I can't. I'll jury do it one day. How you bet 94 and you win at it. Everyone seems to do it, but I'm the only googie egg who can't handle it. Race 3, 94. These were the flux. Sweet Kiss. Well, it went for a kiss, all right. $2.30 out to $3.70, begging at the finish. Arabian Gold, the winner, $4.60 into $4. Devil in a Dress, $4.40 out to as much as $7.50. You wouldn't see that on the Fluck. Started $5.50. Fairyland, they took $12, started $11. Disclosure was well back, $21 into 13 or even 11 or $12, starting 11 to 1. Red Hot Dame, $6 out to $7.50, and the bottom one always firm in the market, Miss Fearless, 15 out to 17. It went straight to the front, Sweet Kiss. The winner, it led, was good 2 lengths clear, turning for home. Had a fairly easy time up in the lead. The 1,250 metres turned out to be a little bit too far for it. It handled the going all right, had the bias in its favour, but the 1,250 was a little bit too far for it. The winner, Arabian Gold, sat in the 1-1 position, ridden by proper Peter Roble. It eased off the heels of Miss Fearless turning for home, and it wore down the leader Sweet Kiss to win by a half a length. The others more or less had their chance. Nothing got trapped 3 wide in the run, the winner being the best. Race 4, they said there was 103.9 on the screen, 95% only in the marketplace. These were the Flucks. La Pieta went from $2.30 out to $3.20, plenty of it. I think it flucked a little bit less than that, but started $3. Amarachi, now that you wouldn't see this, but I had a bad result on it at $6.50, which it started on my board, but as much as $8.50 was bet about this runner. It never left the 18 pence. It went from $6 out to $8.50, back into $6, back to $6.50. Peace Force, now this is where you think we only bet 95%, but then there's 15% all of a sudden in this runner, Peace Force, which doesn't exist, which just does not exist. It went from Peace Force after the announcement was made prior to this race that it was going to be ridden off the pace, possibly in midfield. Well, that was not going to help its chances the way the track was playing. And it went from $3.50, a 5 to 2 chance, out to $6.50. Didn't have a price. Loch Levin, $15 into 13. Vision Splendid at one stage, 15 into 12. There was $17 on my board when they jumped. $15 was the best Fluck. Shea Harmony, $12 into $8.50. Duet went from 13 out to 17. Mai Tai Duet, Mai Tai Lady was $8.50 out to $9, back to $7.50. And the bottom one, Graffiti, it was 100 out to 200. Bad losing figures, not positive, as I said on the screen. And who won this race? As I said, not leaving the 18 pence, was the winner, Amarachi. It had barrier 3, sat back in third last position on the fence. When they turned for home, leading in this race was Mai Tai Lady. It got off the fence. The runner behind it, Loch Levin, it got around its heels. The favourite was in the 1-1 position and moved up to the lead. And the runner that was tailing Loch Levin along was Shea Harmony, and it got off the fence. It had barrier 1. It got off the fence before the turn, allowing the winner to not go around a runner. And it kept on getting rails runs, which is happens a lot at Canterbury. And it got straight up along the fence. It finished up beating the favourite by 0.3 of a length, and Loch Levin was a half a length away in third position, and Shea Harmony was beaten 1.3. Peace Force, who was one on the back of La Pieta, it ran fifth, beaten 2.2 lengths. Suppose it had its chance. Race 5, 104.2 they said on the screen, only 97% in the marketplace. The Flux were Slick Sniper, 13 out to 16, back into 14, to back out to 16. Like a Star, now it didn't have a price like a Star. It did at $5.50. But it went from $3.60 like a Star out to $5.50, back into $5, simply because there were no figures there. Watertight, well, this will tell you how advantageous it was to be saving ground on the fence. It was going nowhere. It was in last position. It was $26 out to 41. It ran through into third hole. It was last, under pressure down the back. It never stopped getting rails runs, and as I say, went up along inside runners and only got beat a length. Bilko, who got off it was fourth on the fence, or fifth on the fence. It got off the fence. It was $4.60 out to $5.50 back into $5. Jack Song, the winner, $7 out to $9. The result for the captains: Lehigh, $6 out to $7 back into $6. Zeus went from $8.50 to $10 back into $7. And Wine and Dine, you wouldn't see it, but $6 early in the betting on the fence and in the outside ring, into $5.50, into $5 taken to finish into about $4.60. They did take the $5 off me towards the end of betting. It led Jack Song. Once Like a Star never found the bunny like it did last start at Wyong. I suppose it was always going to be a bit hard for it. And when Jack Song, the grey horse, got to the lead, he was able to have a very easy time down the back. It's very one-paced and likes the going, and it kept on plugging away. Zeus was the runner directly behind it on the fence. Got off its heels turning for home, but Zeus is Zeus. Not very genuine Zeus, a bit scatterbrained, and it did move up as if it was going to go past Jack Song, but couldn't. And Jack Song beat it by about the neck margin. And as I say, running along the fence from last position was watertight. The other runners all eased off the fence and made runs a bit wider after that on the circle, and they all just plugged away. Race 6, there was 108.4 on the screen, and hallelujah, the captains here, we got positive figures, but it was still no good. 108.4 on the screen, 102, maybe 3% in the ring. The flux in this race, well, I won't give you the flux. The winner of this race was Breakfast in Bed. I thought it was very disappointing, Pretty Famous. Once it came across, ridden by the perfectly balanced Rodney Quinn, Pretty Famous, it was easy in the betting. It went from $4 out to $5.50, back into $5 late. It led. Sitting on its outside was Ellen Grenadine. It held on fairly ordinary. It ran second last, beaten 8.3. And sitting 3 wide outside the pair, which was by far the best run in the race, was School of Turin. It had a wide alley. It had barrier. There were 1, 2, 3, 4 scratchings, field of 10, and it had barrier 10. And it sat 3 wide outside the leaders all the way. And it only got beat to half a length, where, as I say, Pretty Famous led, and the line of 3, and then directly behind the leader on the fence was the winner, Breakfast in Bed, and as much as $8 was given, and only started $6.50 or even $6. Very, very well backed. I was how much at $7.50 at one stage of the betting, and as I say, started $6.50, hard to get. It got the Charmer when they turned for home, ridden by bold Blake Shin. What a great rider. He was able to get a split in between Pretty Famous and the horse on its outside, Ella Grenadine, and that was enough when he got past Pretty Famous for him to hold on all this time. The horse sitting 3 wide outside them, School of Trim, was still there, boxing on very strongly. It ran second, as I say, beaten half a length, and the leader, Pretty Famous, who was very disappointing, 0.8 of a length away in third position. Of course, Swap the Alleys, and School of Turin wins that race fairly easily. What else happened in that race? Well, that's about all you'd say. It made up a lot of ground. The look at one stage early in the piece, when they went out of the back straight, it was 3 wide at the tail of the field, ridden by Jay Collette. It was eased back towards the fence, and it was the runner that made up more ground than any other runner in the straight. Its run wasn't bad. I don't know what happened to it at Tamworth last start. It was a good win, I suppose, a while. It went disgraceful at Tamworth the start before that, before it won at Wyong. We came to the last race. They said, hello, hallelujah, the captain's got, the fraud squad, don't call them, it's sweet. 104.7 was on the screen, maybe 101 or 2% in the marketplace. And as I said earlier, this was the race where there was, they went out quicker than any other race all day, but they came home slower. They came home in 38.42, and the winner, ridden by horseman Huey Bowman, Guridian, it sat back in third last position, pulled wide on the turn, and with a few of the runners up in front, the little bit of speed that they had to use running along, it was enough for it to just come over the top of them towards the end of the race. The margins were 0.3, and it was beating it ran second Arrowette, who was not a bad run because it was up near the lead, sort of half carting, but still 3 wide all the way, and stuck on very, very well. And dead heating for third was Becken, who came off Arrowette's back and getting held up in the straight and dead heating for third, but had a beautiful run behind the leaders on the fence from barrier 1, was Smart Patrol. It's a horse that needs to be wound up a little bit. I wonder if it would have got it out at the top of the straight, whether it would have been able to get through after having the soft run and get past the leader and hang on and win. We'll never know. It was a bit disappointing when it did get through, but as I say, it takes a little bit of time to wind up, but it was held up for a good section of the straight after turning. It dead heated for third with the top weight Becken. Run this race over again and you would get plenty of different results. Well, that was about the meeting. On Saturday, well, as I say, there's no Hawkesbury tomorrow. That's gone to Gosford. Saturday, we've got whatever. I don't know where the 2 meetings are out wide on Friday, and then we've got Rose Hill on Saturday. So good evening, and hope you won.